one of the cornerstones of Fallout 4 modding is definitely going to be weapon mods. This is an area of modding where we have the most variety, tons of new releases coming out even today, so many years after Fallout 4's initial release, and they just keep getting better when it comes to new animations, new models and textures, and just new creative and wacky ideas. And this week, we've got a boatload of weapon mods to take a look at that are all very different and very interesting. Some are going to be retro, some are going to be sci-fi, some are going to be modern. So depending on what you're into, you may find a weapon mod here that may be perfect for your load order. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in with the first mod we're checking out this week, known as the Heavyjet, a Gyrojet revolver by Selakii. This mod is going to add a very, very interesting sci-fi revolver into the game that shoots gyrojets. Now, if you're not familiar, a gyrojet is going to be a rocket-propelled bullet. It is instead going to be propelled by rockets instead of an explosion or gunpowder or anything like that. It is going to propel itself, and that translates into gameplay in a very interesting way. It's a very heavy, damaging weapon, but they are going to be slower projectiles. They're not super slow like a missile launcher, but they are slower than the typical hit scan of vanilla Fallout 4. That means you are going to have to take your time and line up your shot so that you actually hit your target, but when you do, it's going to be quite an impact, as that rocket-propelled bullet is going to do quite a bit of damage. I was dropping super mutants and deathclaws with little to no effort. Now, because this mod does have a very unique ammo type, it is going to add in its own gyrojet ammo type so that you can have proper ammo for this weapon, because there's not really anything in vanilla that works for this, since it is such a very, very unique caliber. I have seen people use missiles in the past, but that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Having a proper gyrojet ammo is perfect. This mod is going to be using vanilla animations for the 44, but that means any reanimations that you download will work with this weapon. And it is also integrated into the world and can be found on the Minutemen, Brotherhood of Steel, Gunners, and Trappers after level 25, meaning it will actually require the Far Harbor DLC. Additionally, though, you can actually craft this thing at the chemistry station if you don't want to have to go out and find it. There is also a unique version of this weapon that you can find, but you're going to have to really look out in the ocean. Literally buried in the ocean will you find this unique. And I don't want to spoil that because, quite frankly, it's pretty dang cool. Overall, you have a pretty dang unique weapon. This is going to be one of the most interesting weapons that we're looking at today, offering definitely the most unique approach to a new gun that we've seen. The next mod we're checking out, though, is going to be a little bit more traditional when it comes to firearms. This is the V52 Assault Rifle, also known as the Vargo 52 Redux, by Diakyuto. This is going to be a Redux of Cadaver's Vargo 52 weapon that is going to have a bunch of new attachments and a bunch of tweaks to make it a bit different. This is going to be a standalone release, and it is going to have a ton of changes to the way the weapon functions, as well as a ton of changes to how it is integrated into the game. This weapon does come with custom animations, which is always a huge plus when it comes to weapon mods. It has beautiful models and textures, and it has a ton of customization and attachments over the weapon's workbench that really let you change out the way this weapon functions. It's always going to be an assault rifle, but you can really tweak it to make it a bit different. Either it's a heavy-hitting sort of LMG or maybe a short Wyatt carbine. It's really up to you. By default, this thing is going to use 5.56, but if you use some add-ons, you can get this to use 5.45 as it is supposed to. This weapon is also integrated into the level list, so you will find this thing on Raiders, Minutemen, and Gunners after level 18. Specifically, though, these weapons will only spawn anywhere that any of these NPCs would have had an automatic weapon. So, if you're not seeing it that often, that's okay. It is just kind of a rare drop. This mod also makes some tweaks to the original mod's animations and cleans up some of the subgraphs so that it should work perfectly. If you're a fan of this weapon, you should definitely try this one out, as it may be an improved version. And that's not me trying to hate on Cadaver's original mod. It literally says on the mod page right there that Cadaver approves this as a better version of his own mod. Now, interestingly enough, we actually have a double feature for Diakyuto today, as we're also checking out the Commissar pistol bundle. This is going to add some brand new pistols into the game that you can go and check out. That's going to be the TT-33 and the Type 54. These guns are going to have a ton of customization, just like the last mod. Beautiful models and textures that I think look absolutely fantastic. Leveled list integration, and even custom animation. Now, there are two different versions of this mod. One is going to use vanilla ammo types, and the others are going to use the appropriate ammos from munitions. If you're using munitions, then the TT-33 will be chambered in 7.62 Tokarev, and the Type 54 will be chambered in 9mm. If you're using vanilla, though, the TT will be using 10mm, and the Type 54 will be using 38. So depending on what you like, you do have an option here. Whether you use munitions or not, there will be available versions for both. In terms of the customization that this mod has, there is a ton, including different grips, magazines, barrels, muzzle devices, even changing the glow sight colors, different optics, laser sights, and even a bunch of matte swaps to change out how the weapons look visually. This weapon is also integrated into the leveled list, so you will find it after level 12, and you will find it on Brotherhood Scribes, Railroad Agents, and Triggermen, and you can of course purchase it from vendors. That is going to be for the TT-33. The Type 54 actually spawns at level 6 on Raiders, gunners and Minutemen, and of course you can purchase that one from vendors as well. Overall, a very, very thorough and fleshed out pistol mod, adding 2 new guns with a ton of options that make for a really, really cool set of sidearms. If this would fit your character, this is definitely one that I'd recommend checking out, or if you want to just add more variety to your world and your game, this is definitely a good one for that as well. Now, the next mod is going to be a little bit more modern and a little bit more tactical, and that's going to be the Modern Warfare 2022 P890, also known as the P220 pistol. This is going to be based on the COD version of the real-life SIG P220, and it's going to be a really, really nice mod because, of course, it's getting AAA models and textures and animations stripped straight from Call of Duty. These things look really, really nice, and it packs quite a punch. I actually use this gun quite a bit when playing that Modern Warfare title, and it transfers really, really well into Fallout 4. The animations are so punchy that it's very, very satisfying to use. One of the more satisfying guns we're talking about today. I'm not typically a fan of the modern stuff for my own load order, but it was a lot of fun to get footage for. Like I said, the animations and the sounds were super punchy and super satisfying. Now, since it is a Modern Warfare port, that does mean a couple of things for its integration and stuff. You're, of course, going to get really nice animations. You're going to get a ton of attachments and a ton of different cosmetic options in the form of different blueprints. But that means there's not going to be any leveled lists or anything like that. It is pretty interesting that it seems that a lot of the COD ports, even though they're made by different authors who are all different people with their own different mindsets, they all seem to integrate them very similarly, in the sense that they don't have leveled list integration. Instead, they're either craftable, or you have to literally spawn it in. Which is the case in this mod. You have to spawn it in, and that is the only way to get it. You cannot craft it, you cannot go and find it out in the world. Which is a shame. I would love to see these things in the game. For people who do like to play with modern weapons, it's a shame that they don't get more leveled list integration straight out of the box. They usually have to get patches for that kind of stuff. This isn't speaking for everybody, but I assume, though, that if you are into the more modern and tactical stuff, you don't really mind spawning stuff in the first place, since you probably want to get the coolest gun to go and have fun shooting at enemies with some really tactical stuff. So if you are into that, then this mod might be great for you. If you need a new sidearm and you want something that's really, really nice, this is definitely a great option. One cool thing about this mod is that it is going to require the Stooges COD modding framework. Now, a requirement doesn't sound like a cool thing out of the box, but this is something that a lot of COD porters have been using now to make them a lot smaller in your load order. Instead of having to download huge files for every single COD mod, now you just download this one framework, and that's going to have a lot of the assets you need, and then each individual gun will be a lot smaller after that, which is quite a cool thing, and I like to see the community working together like that, and it's going to make any future COD mods that you download a whole lot easier to use. And finally, the last mod we're checking out is known as the H&K P9S by Arabot96. Arabot has been making a ton of weapon mods recently, a new modder to the scene who's doing an absolutely amazing job, and this weapon is no different. Lots of pistols this week, but this one is definitely a really cool and really unique one. Currently, it does only have vanilla deliver animations, but the aesthetic of this weapon totally makes up for it, and the animations fit perfectly fine. The attachments available are also really, really cool. Some really cool cut compensators, as well as some really interesting grips based off of some target guns that look super neat. While this mod doesn't have custom animations, that's perfectly fine. I actually don't mind vanilla animations whatsoever. What's really important to me is that this mod actually does include leveled list integration, so you will be able to find it out in the world on enemies. Additionally, you can craft it at the chemistry station as an alternative method of acquiring this weapon. Just a heads up that this mod was made on the next gen update, so you are going to need to have the mod that allows you to use the backdated archive system, and that is pretty much it. Otherwise, this mod's going to work just great in your game. If you've already updated, then you don't have to worry about that whatsoever. This mod will work just fine. The main thing that this mod is going to bring to the table is definitely its style. It's a super cool retro-looking pistol, and it fits very well in the Fallout aesthetic, I think, especially in Fallout 4. And sidearms are pretty hard to come by when it comes to vanilla-friendly Fallout 4-looking weapons, so if you want one like that, this is definitely going to give you a good option. Not to mention, it just looks really unique. It's unlike anything else on the Nexus I've seen so far, but this is definitely a really cool pistol option if you're looking for something new. Now then, I think that's going to wrap things up. We have a lot of new weapons to check out. If you want to try any of them, they will all be linked down in the description below as always. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed the video, consider dropping it a like. It really helps me out and lets me know what kind of videos you guys like to see. Additionally, if you like the work I do here on YouTube or the mods I make over on the Nexus, you can support me on Patreon. It is of course completely optional, not something you need to feel like you have to do, but if you want to support me directly, that is the best way to do so. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!